Welcome to Fact Flash. I bet you didn't know the shocking truths about communism. Communism, a word that evokes images of breadlines, dictators, and those creepy hammer and sickle flags. It's a system that's been tried, tested, and ultimately for many found wanting. But why? What is it about this ideology that inspires both fervent devotion and deep suspicion? Today we're diving headfirst into the tumultuous world of communism. We're counting down our picks for the top 5 most revealing facts about communism, from its utopian ideals to its bone-chilling realities. Our communist chronicles begin, not with a bang, but with a beard. A really, really impressive beard. I'm talking, of course, about Karl Marx, the father of, well, this whole shebang. Now, Marx wasn't some mustache-twirling villain plotting world domination from his underground lair. He was a philosopher, an economist, a sociologist, and a man deeply troubled by the inequality he saw around him. He believed capitalism, with its relentless pursuit of profit, was inherently unfair, creating a system where the rich got richer and the workers got, well, the shaft. Marx and his partner in crime, Friedrich Engels, envisioned a classless society, a utopia where the means of production were owned collectively, and everyone got a slice of the pie. Sounds lovely in theory, right? Like a never-ending potluck where everyone brings their best dish and nobody judges your potato salad. However, as anyone who's ever planned a potluck knows, things can go south quickly. The problem with Marxism, and this is key, is that it's been interpreted, reinterpreted, and twisted into more shapes than a Cirque du Soleil performer. What started as a critique of capitalism morphed into a political ideology that's been implemented with varying degrees of disaster across the globe. And that's where things get really interesting, or, depending on your perspective, terrifying. The road to the communist utopia, it turned out, was paved with some pretty nasty speed bumps, authoritarian regimes, brutal suppression of dissent, and economic policies that made the Great Depression look like a picnic. The Soviet Union under Stalin, China under Mao, Cambodia under Pol Pot, these were not exactly workers' paradises. Millions died under these regimes, victims of political purges, forced labor, and famines. It begs the question, can an ideology that promises equality and liberation be achieved without resorting to, well, tyranny? Alright, buckle up because things are about to get Cold War chilly. Picture it. 1945, World War II has just ended, and the world is breathing a collective sigh of relief. But before anyone can say peace treaty, a new conflict is brewing. A clash of ideologies that would shape the latter half of the 20th century. In one corner, we have the capitalist United States, all about individual freedom, free markets, and probably apple pie. In the other corner, the communist Soviet Union, advocating for a workers' paradise, state control, and, I don't know, borscht. It was a battle of ideas, but it played out on a global stage, with proxy wars, espionage, and enough nuclear weapons to turn the planet into a radioactive wasteland. The Cold War was a time of paranoia, suspicion, and the ever-present fear that some overzealous general might just press the big red button. It was a game of chess played with real lives, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. Now, it wasn't all doom and gloom. The Cold War also gave us some pretty incredible technological advancements. The space race, for example, led to humans landing on the moon, which is objectively awesome. But it also gave us the duck and cover drills in schools, which were objectively terrifying. The Cold War was a defining period in modern history, and its legacy is still felt today. It shaped international relations, fueled countless spy novels, and gave us enough historical fodder to keep historians busy for centuries. On paper, communism sounds pretty great. It's like that friend who always picks up the check and promises to split it later but never does. It's the political equivalent of a perfectly photoshopped Instagram picture. It looks amazing, but the reality is often much messier. The theory of communism, with its emphasis on equality, collective ownership, and a classless society, is undeniably appealing. Who wouldn't want a world where everyone has what they need, resources are shared equitably, and the evils of greed and exploitation are eradicated? It's a utopian vision that has captured the imaginations of thinkers, revolutionaries, and idealists for centuries. But there's a big difference between theory and practice. In practice, communism has a bit of a track record problem. It's like that recipe you found online that had rave reviews but turned out to be an inedible disaster. The problem lies in the execution, or more accurately, the consistent misinterpretation and misuse of its core principles. Communist regimes, despite their lofty goals, have often devolved into authoritarian states, characterized by repression, economic mismanagement, and a disregard for individual rights. The Soviet Union, China, Cuba, North Korea, these are just a few examples of countries where the communist experiment, to put it mildly, didn't quite go as planned. The inherent flaw, many argue, lies in human nature itself. Communism assumes that people will inherently work for the collective good, putting aside their own self-interest for the betterment of society. But history has shown time and again that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So what do you think of communism? Can it ever live up to its lofty ideals? It's a question that has vexed philosophers, politicians, and revolutionaries for over a century. From the utopian visions of Marx to the brutal realities of communist regimes, communism remains a topic of intense debate and scrutiny. It's a system that has been both praised for its aspirations and condemned for its failures. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite. For more revolutionary top 10s and blacklisted top 5s, be sure to subscribe to Fact Flash.